All right, cool. So I'll do a quick intro. Hi, I'm Sandy McDonald. I'm one of the artist members here and also the gallery coordinator at the Collaborative. And this month's feature artist is Percy Harrison. And we are sitting in front of his wall right now of his work. We managed to get it all in there. So it is filled, so it's wonderful. You can see it. We do have capacity of 3, which is perfectly fine for coming by. We have our holiday hours is this Friday, 12 to 8, and Saturday and Sunday, 11 to 8. And then Monday through Wednesday, we have 12 to 6. And then Christmas Eve, we're probably going to be open from like 11 to 4 or so. So there's plenty of time to come down and see the show in person because you miss a lot of the detail in the camera right now. So
That's
a lot of detail. There's a lot of detail in this. It's fantastic. So I'll just take it over. You can take it over, and if you have any questions, just post them, and we'll throw them at Percy.
Well, it's my pleasure.
Yeah.
Thank you. I am the featured artist. My name is Percy Harrison. It is a pleasure to be here and have the opportunity with the Collaborative and Sandy reaching out for me to do a installation for December. I do have a few pieces that are up here that I feel were doesn't necessarily have to be my strongest work, but is what I feel has more of a touch of my own inspiration in it, what I felt at the time. They're all for sale. I hope somebody takes them because I don't want them to come back into my closet. No, but I'll explain each. Before I do that, I'll just give a brief little description of myself, how I came into the art. I've been doing it for as long as I can remember. I did start at a art studio, Artists for Humanities, years ago, back in high school. So it gives you the opportunity to explore your creative side of art. I went to college for graphic design. Major was computer science. So being on the computer as well kind of helps in the aspects of colors, proportion, building ideas and all of that. I just don't like sitting on computers and clicking away. So as an artist, I specialize in all mediums. It could be spray paint, brushes, markers, anything that I can find that I can put artwork on it. I will do that. I love doing that. I started graffiti maybe around 99, but not necessarily just with letters. I started doing a lot of portraits, scenery, so that aspect kind of brought forth already colors for me. Once graffiti came in, I kind of kicked all the portraits and everything else out. So it was all about the letters, doing things on walls as I could, growing up, trains, whatever the case may be. So now I'm at the stage in my age bracket where I don't feel like running anymore. So it's what more could I actually do with graffiti, or not just necessarily graffiti, but how to wean back to what started me with art, period. I have so many different sayings when it comes to art, but I always say life is art and art is life. And do what you love what you do. I love art, so I could sit for hours, on hours, and just draw, paint, spray paint. It doesn't matter if it's finished, unfinished, which I could never tell if any of my artwork is finished because I sit in front of it for hours and you miss things that you think you saw, things you thought you saw aren't even there because you've seen it so many times already. But even through that process, you kind of learn to take pictures as you go while you're doing the work. Believe it or not, a picture does speak louder than the image that you're sitting in front of, because then, when you zoom in, it's like, whoa, wow, I didn't even notice that this was or not there, and it allows you to analyze and step away from it and go back in. I guess I can start with the painting that I have in the top right, and that one's called it's my version of the Northern Lights. I've never been. but the lights in the sky are absolutely breathtaking. The different colors that are in the sky. Um, I hear from those that actually got to witness it, it's beautiful. It's relaxing. Just how it actually happens. So it's just pretty much trees in the background with the clouds kind of descending into it, and just my formation of the different colors that you would see in the aspect of the sky. I could give you my secret of how I actually did everything, but then you'd want to do it too. But you know, sometimes the saying "work smarter, not harder" does actually come into play. So I found a lot more easier ways to start a process faster, which allows me to sit later on longer parts and actually be intricate with it. I do want to see the Northern Lights. I hope it happens in a lifetime. That'd be great. But I also did another version it's fortunately I couldn't take it off the grasp of my wife because she hung it up in the house, so therefore it's not here. But it's a grayscale of the same actual, but it's just a black and white version in gray, which I do love. This one here, which is a series. This actually, I pretty much started this series when the coronavirus actually not started, but heightened in the aspect of us understanding that this is actually a real type of disease that we have here. Obviously, the blue is a cure, but before you get to a cure, you got to start with the infection. So I just kind of took shapes to represent what could be inside that we don't see, whether they're big, small, dark, light, and it's called it's a transparency of each. It's the same actual color, but some are lighter than other spots, but it's actually that one spray can. So it's pretty much starting here. Yes, it looks nice, but the start doesn't always indicate whether it's good or bad. The middle is pretty much where we are right now. It's mass confusion, meaning we know it's there. We know either A, you catch it, you don't. If you do catch it, they seem like they have a one common cure, which is why that big symbol right there in the middle with the purple and red kind of blend is. That's the ideas of what they feel can help out. But obviously, you do see the green, you do see the yellows, but you still see around the edges are the darker parts, meaning all of those ideas are still encaved with the aspect of coronavirus. Hopefully one day we get there. You know, there is an end to something that always starts. So that's why I kind of put this here at the end. Doesn't need too much explaining. It's blue, beautiful color, clean, pure. So that is the ending of where it starts, where we're at now, and hopefully where it should finish in 2021 so we can get our sports where it should be because it's really going. Yes.
While we're talking about
Yep.
that, somebody
Mhm.
had a question. How
Mhm.
did the pandemic affect your creativity and drive?
I actually was waiting for a question like that because honestly it didn't affect it, actually enhanced my creativity with it. Sometimes when you're not stuck in an actual pandemic or something where it's has to force you to confine yourself, you're just so free to go wherever and just, you know, like in the aspect of graffiti. If there was no pandemic, I probably would have run to every single wall that I could find and just paint because that's the aspect of graffiti. But since the pandemic, I think it's actually helped me to confine all the thoughts that are all out here, sit down and bring them all in, and it actually helped me create more of a thought process and realization about art, not just graffiti in itself. If he asked me that same question a year ago, I couldn't answer it because I wouldn't have had this kind of work a year ago. A year ago would be nothing but graffiti, and I would have to explain where every letter is and redo that with this color. But a year ago to now, I guess it's a blessing and a curse. It's a blessing for me in the aspect that it brought different realizations to art, what I could actually do. And honestly, since then, I've probably done more artwork in the aspect of just what I've always wanted to do, just be free with it rather than have to sit here and draw graffiti.
Yeah.
Draw graffiti, so.
Somebody wanted to know your street name, which is Mr. Swabs. Now, how did you come up with Mr. Swabs? The origin of that?
I can say in my time of doing graffiti, I've had three main names. And the first name was Absurd. And I mean, it was obviously from the real word absurd, but I just changed and took out and put the A. But for me, everything has to have a definition. So absurd was a black soldier evenly ruining destinations, meaning wherever I go, I'm going to leave a mark at every point. And just try to make it even around the city where it's not like, oh, we know he's from Providence because that's most of his tags, or he's only from the Dorchester because that's where everything is at. I brought it out because it was too long to write, and I needed something faster for me to tag. So from there formed the name Swabs, and that definition is something worth advertising to become successful. So I just felt the more that I created my own aspect of that style, the more, it would be seen more not of just graffiti, but an artistic view, like what's going through his head when he puts the colors on, this and this. So it's more or less, it wasn't for me, it was for everyone else. But since then, I've adopted and let that go because through art, it's you create to destroy and rebuild. So I'm at the point where I felt I've done enough for the aspect of that name. And so now the name that I go and use by now is Apache, which you won't see right now because it's so fresh and new, but it's a different feel. I do have a Native American background, so the name kind of gives me that strength, the aspect of, it's not chief of all graffiti, but just within yourself. I'm the master or the chief or keeper of my skill set and what I can actually do with my tag. So you might see me Swabs more often now, because I've had that name for over 10 years, but I got bored of it. I got tired of writing it.
Now, Jason L. Boss wants to know what is your inspiration?
The fact that Jason L. Boss asked me a question. Honestly, it's probably questions like that because I always sit back and try to find what is the true inspiration of why I do what I do. And I never do it for myself because I can never come to the end point of, oh, it's finally done, it looks great. I can't accept that. But I guess more or less the inspiration is what others find different within the art that I already created that I haven't seen, or the interpretation they see that I didn't even put into it. So, but within this year, yeah, the gentleman that just asked the question is another big reason why I've adopted different aspects, because younger age range are more blunt than us in the upper, I lie. It's not lie to you, but I say, yeah, that's good. Yeah, that's good. Just keep up doing it. Yeah. But and it's not like the scared. It's I'd rather tell you exactly what it is that I see rather than not. And I've had a bunch say, oh, that's dope, but what the heck is that? They don't go with this, and it's like, dang, ow. But to me, it's like, all right, let me go back and actually see what everyone's talking about. So it's a big inspiration in that point.
That's great. Why don't you continue along with
So let's see if I can walk. I'm still looking. Oh, look at that! Come on, look at it. This small little one right here. It's called River at Peace, and it's a wooden. I don't. Not to say I don't spend too much on materials to do the artwork on, but who's to say you can't find something that's 50 cents and make it seem like you've bought that frame for more than what it is and put a painting to it. But it was a simple frame that I saw. It's actually a chalkboard, the black space. But instead of me doing the chalk, it's these paint markers that I have. And I said, the base is already there. And it's just a very, not dark, but a metal scene. I don't know if it's cactus or whatever. It seems like there should be a cactus or something in there. But it just has a very peaceful movement from the river to the sky to how the trees are pretty much settled. The one below it, I've been more recently this year into clouds. Not sure why, but I like the form of how the clouds look. They look all soft and, fluffy and full. So it's just the different things you can do with it. This was just free of mind, planes coming through. And the aspect of that, we don't know or see beyond the clouds, but a plane can. And that's the only way. I mean, you look from here up, a plane goes from the clouds up. So that one is called, Rise Above. So pretty much Rise Above to see more of what you can't see down here. This guy on the little hand left side, Let It Snow. Very simple piece. It's all put together, meaning not one came with the other. It was just I found this, put this here, spray painted it. I'm an arts and crafts. Actually, what the pandemic actually showed me too. I can actually do arts and crafts. And I'm pretty good at it. So, that was fun too in itself. The one below, I'm not sure if you can see it, but I know it's online. It's called Peaceful Serenity. That's another wood piece, acrylic paint. And it's just a young lady sitting in the grass holding a rose. Just that piece. Nothing's bothering her. There's no breeze. There's no nothing. It's just that piece. These little guys here. Two canvases in one. It's kind of almost the same version as Looking at the Northern Lights, but it just doesn't have the Northern. It's kind of a backwards version. There's no Northern Lights, but the colors that are in the Northern Lights is your sky here, period. So it's kind of just we're Santa Claus because it is snowing, but you don't see a sleigh or anything yet. Maybe that's because I forgot about that canvas and knew there was supposed to be a silhouette of Santa and his reindeers, and I said, "Where the hell is Santa Claus?" So there you go. The last main piece is this big guy here. Sandy reached out to me a few months ago and asked me to do an installation. I was still in disbelief, like, "What, really? You want me?" So I was struggling, thinking about the aspect of what to do, the size, because they said 9x5 or 7, and I'm like, wow, where am I going to find those measurements type thing? And, I'd ask somebody, "Hey, what do you think I should do?" "When was the installation?" "It's in December. We'll do something about Christmas." Go figure. So I just kind of had fun with it. I put everything in it that I felt, it's called the Mixed Media Christmas, meaning there's so many different mediums of utensils that I used on it, from spray paint to water-based acrylic, regular acrylic. The snow is just, store-bought snow, glue guns, the North Pole signs. I do have to give credit to, wife Masari. She does a lot of upholstery. I probably would have came in here with a very flat surface. She truly understands the aspect of upholstery, meaning bringing something flat and kind of make it jump out to you. And, I sat here and I was like, geez, it looks so flat. I'm not really sure how to. And she comes, "Well, why don't you do this here? What you do?" I'm like, oh my God. So even still in that aspect, you're still learning a lot of art that you didn't know. So a lot of the North Pole, the Santa bags, and the snow actually on the tree, it was all of her idea as to try it out, do this. And I just said, just coming out. And it was nice where I'd see her working on it. I personally don't like nobody touching my homework. Put it in. I'm gonna do this line. No, because you don't know. Even if the line's just going straight, I'm gonna say, no, it ain't going straight. It's going straight in a little crookedness. But I just have that fear of, if it's not my line and I mess it up, I've never been so calm and comfortable with somebody else sitting on it and I'm not there, or do you mind? And it kind of came to a collective, a good headbutt, meaning, no, I ain't going right there. Once it's on, it's, oh, yeah, you're right. So. But
So it was a good collaboration.
It was a very good collaboration. Because of the time frame in which you asked me to do it, I was like, I've got plenty of time. boy. Just ask you about the last few emails. Like, can I just give me one more, But I feel this as a special piece because it's something I really stepped out of the box with that I've never done or tried with artwork, and it gets me excited to see what else I can pull out the little bunny rabbit hat. So, yeah, I hope somebody takes this one too, because I definitely don't want to take these two big canvases. But yeah, it was a lot of ideas that were suggested, and I said instead of not doing them, just do them. Put them on there and see what happens. So, if you ask me if it's finished, I'm lie to you and say yes. Because it's not. But it is. I just could probably, like you asked me, I could probably sit on it for another 2 or 3 weeks and still feel like there's a lot more things that could go into it. But I'm happy with the results.
What's your favorite material to work with? I know you work with a lot of different ones, but have you got a preference?
I love spray paint.
Spray paint.
I love it. I love the smell. Even though it's it's not that you need a mask, you do need a mask. I don't know what the smell is. It just brings that rush of, there's something different. But I love spray paint because it's not necessarily the can. It's the person that's holding it,
Yep.
Everybody always asks, how do you not get drips or how are these lines this? And I could tell you, but I don't because I still go along when I sit on the wall and just do it. But I love spray paint. It's just the medium and the final result of, what you can do with it. So I'm still pretty fascinated about it myself.
Nice.
I don't mind using anything else. Shake a can, spray it, and just go.
It is. It's good. That sound.
See,
I know.
Get the ball rolling. But yeah, it's pretty cool. I love art. What am I gonna do when I leave here? Probably some more art.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't mind these services, but I don't. I mean, now I'm venturing into clothing, masks, shirts, whatever it is. If you even say I'm gonna take my window off and bring it to your house, if you do me a snow and bring it back, I would. It's just I don't like to stick to one surface. Graffiti made you kind of stick to one surface because it's more or less the walls and trains, but taking what I've done on the wall and be able to transfer it on clothing or people asking, hey, can you do this and put it, oh man, I jump on it so fast. So if there's any ideas that you do have that you think nobody has or say they can't do, even if I can, I'm going to say I can do it. And I'll sit there and, but I do have that passion for putting it on clothing or, so it can be showcased as well rather than hung up. I'd rather see you walk by with it on too. So without understanding and going through graffiti, I probably wouldn't understand, how to, with graffiti, there's a lot of the light aspect of it, where light should be shown, 3D should be at, and all this other stuff. And that kind of help maneuver where light should be shown, perspective, everything. So I do want to do a much, much larger scale, like on the side of a building painting, which, I'm hoping, somebody will, but that's always been a fascination. Not whether or not I can or can't do it, it's just I'm doing it. But I would like to try something so big where it's like, all right, let's get to work. So I do miss the bigger scales. Smaller scales is kind of like annoying because you gotta get real intricate and it's easy to kind of go over some lines and then you gotta go back and then do this and this and this. But I don't mind it at all either. It brings patience, but I do miss the walls and all of that. So hopefully somebody gives me that big wall to just say, hey, go crazy.
Questions, Dave?
Well, yeah, the thing I was noticing when you were describing each of the pieces, I think in each one you mentioned some kind of physical feeling. Like you talk about the clouds being fluffy.
Yes, right, yeah.
And with the larger piece, you have the elements, and with the COVID stuff, which is my favorite stuff, is that it's super immediate. You weren't using a computer, you were doing it, and COVID's all about, not touching stuff. Right. Don't touch that. Don't touch that surface. So there's that that tension, And I just think it's great. I think it's really super immediate.
You even saying that, it's how do we even get to understand that aspect if we don't find some way to touch without touching? I mean, how can a doctor get to the inside if he can't get to the inside? It's kind of that, just, I guess, in the beginning, hearing all the numbers of what it does, the experience people have had. I did lose a dear friend to it, young age. My older brother did. Thank God, bless that. He's fine. He went through it great. Held up fine. But it kind of gives you that perspective that it's not all good inside, even if I'm smiling at you on the outside when I'm on the hospital bed. So it's kind of what kind of idea do you think would go into an actual feeling of that? And I mean, especially here right now. And it doesn't. The middle doesn't even have to be with just people with coronavirus. It's kind of like I was saying, with the world of sports or the world of just regular entertainment that we're used to seeing every day. It's kind of a rushed process now because the safe aspect, I guess, of COVID. I haven't seen football, basketball, and baseball go by so dang quick that it's like, did it even start? But it's already starting up again, as well as people now with the music and the shows or whatever the case is. It's kind of very limited to now. It's a whole mass confusion of where can we do everything in a nutshell now that we used to do then, but we can't do now type of thing. So it's everybody kind of beating each other up in the head type of thing until hopefully everything thins out. But that's how that feeling still is now, because I think we're still in the unknown aspect of it.
Oh, absolutely.
Hopefully that, the last one is that end result of where if we all start to listen.
We all need to listen.
Yeah, so, but I'm glad you did kind of point that out, that H1 had a feeling. I did years ago at the Museum of Fine Arts for a field trip, and they had like little tin foils, but it was gold, silver, and all that, and a piece of, it wasn't wood, but it wasn't foam, but it had a braille feeling. And they would say, ask me what it feels, or what do you think, how would you describe it? And I was like, it's like airplane-y.
Yeah.
I was like, what? I was like, it's very choppy, the edges are sharp, and it feels like it's in a turbulent, like it's just been through the rubbers. And the guy was like, my goodness. I understand, I actually want to feel that. Let me touch it type thing. So everything has a feeling. Everything.
Yeah, I love those pieces because you have to see them in person because, and I encourage people to, because they have this atmosphere to it, real subtle movements with color. That I like how you play with, like, say, the back sky of that piece, but then you have the contrast of the really two-dimensional aspects too.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Where you get the back and forth with creating atmosphere, and then
that's an aspect, honestly, I did learn as well from. I'm sorry, that's actually so proud of me. Is you don't know the perspective of it, but she showed me so many pictures and didn't explain it until I actually was like, oh my god. She goes, now you get it, big, small, big. And for me, I would always sit here and be like, well, if everything's big, it's got to be bigger. And everything back there has to be so much smaller because it's further away, but no. Because I've seen pictures where you have the same medium and it's, how can this tree be so big so far back and it's so big here? But that's just how, when people take the pictures and actually sit down and look at it, sometimes the biggest tree is the one that's further away. So she did kind of, I didn't want to admit it. I was all like, yeah, but I was like, when she left, I was like, dang, she is so right. But that's another learning right there, which I'm very grateful for as well. So you do things not knowing that you learned it, without knowing it, and then when it's on there, you're like, holy crap, it really stuck. So.
Oh yeah, and you never stop learning either.
No, you can't. No. If you think you've learned or mastered your art, you're so far from even beginning. So.
That's why we keep doing it.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Remain tired. Remain hungry.